It's an important weekend in ice hockey calendar. It's the playoff finals, and they're here in Nottingham. What's even better is the Nottingham Panthers are there in the semi-final this weekend against Coventry, their old rivals. Well, actually, their current rivals. They've got plenty of rivals, actually, because the Steelers are there as well. But certainly Coventry are big rivals of the Nottingham Panthers. And one of the key men in the team is Bruce Richardson, who is the assistant coach for Nottingham Panthers. I thought I'd bring Bruce in for a little bit of a chat about his home life, how he settled in Britain after leaving Canada and Montreal. But first of all, of course, I had to say, well, congratulations on reaching the last four of the playoffs.
Yes, thank you very much.
You must be very pleased.
Really excited. It's something, being from North America, it's my first year here, and you hear about that Final Four weekend, and I'm really excited. I just heard some positive thing, and especially that it's here in Nottingham. It's going to be pretty crazy. It's going to be fun.
Forgive me for asking this question, but if it's possible, can you explain what it's all about? You see, I go and watch Nottingham Panthers occasionally, and obviously I love to see them win. And they've sort of had an up and down season, and yet they're suddenly in the playoffs. So how does the playoffs... What does it mean by the playoffs? How do you get to them?
The playoff, basically, in the elite league hockey, there's 10 teams, and out of those 10 teams, there's 8 that will be making the playoff at the end of the year. There's a cutoff. The last 2, their season are over, and after that, you fight for the playoff. So basically, 1 will play against 8, 2 versus 7, and 3, 6, and 4, 5, and the 4 winners will advance to the Final Four weekend. So this year, we finished 3rd in the standing, tied to, well, I would say 2nd, because we were tied with Coventry. So we both have 78 points, and Sheffield won the league. And we played Manchester in the first round because they finished 6th, and we were able to advance. So Sheffield, Coventry, Nottingham, and Cardiff will be in the Final Four. So basically, if you look at the table, it'd be the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 5th, because Belfast was 4th but got kicked out of the playoff by Cardiff.
You've explained that beautifully.
Yeah, well, being from North America, playoff with the NHL. The NHL is the highest league possible you could play in hockey, the National Hockey League, and we live for that playoff for the North American guys. That's what you live for, and we're pretty excited for this weekend.
So how are you finding settling in Nottingham? Because it's a bit different from the area. Well, you live around Montreal, don't you?
Yeah. Well, Nottingham, actually, I got my wife and 2 kids with me here, and it's so easy to transition because you're coming to a country that the language is English. So for my family, it's pretty simple. I played in Germany 2 years ago, and it was a little bit different because you go there and you go to a store or a restaurant and they all talk German, but I don't know how to speak German, so it was that was tough. But coming here, the transition is so easy, and being meeting guys like Corey Nielsen, our coach, and the organization, it's just been so easy to transition, and I love it. It's a pretty nice town. I got a nice place where I could live. My kids are going to a great school, so nothing to complain about.
How old are they?
I got one that's 7 and another boy that's 2.
So what do they think?
When you're a hockey player, it's a little bit like being in the army. You move around a lot, and it's been my 13 years playing professional hockey, and I've moved around. Like I said, I played in Germany, I played in the U.S., everywhere.
I've got you down for playing for 15 teams. Is that right?
Well, yeah, because I did play for 15 teams. But the reason for that, well, I'll finish the first question saying about when you move around, it's tough. But my son. My oldest one is just a hockey maniac, so he wants me to keep going, and he doesn't mind going to a different school, and it's just good for him. It's a good life lesson for him. For him, it's a good schooling to do that. Who could say a kid at 7 that lived in Germany, in the U.S., in Canada, and in England. I'm 31, and it's my first year in England, and he's 7, and he's been living here, so that's pretty neat. And for the 15 team back home, you got the NHL. That's the biggest level, and it's a little bit like, I would say, like the Premier League here compared to football. And after that, you got it's called the American Hockey League, where basically it'd be like the Forest, the Nottingham Forest, and after that you have a third league. Basically, if there's injury in the second league or in the first league, you could go up. I was lucky to be with the Detroit Red Wings. The Detroit Red Wings are probably the top NHL team for the last couple of years, and you have a Colorado Avalanche. So being in their farm system, you go up and down. So that's why you maybe play for 1 or 2 more teams a year. Right. So that's why I probably played for a couple teams.
Right, I've got it. I was getting worried because the fans obviously love you, and if on average you're due to move soon. So,
Well,
that's one of the questions they're going to ask you, so I might as well ask it now. Are you going to stay with Nottingham next season?
Well, we're talking about it. Nothing has been done yet. We talked about it for sure. You know, when I thought this year was a successful year, and being Corey, because I'm Corey Nielsen, our coach, is assistant coach, so I've been helping him in the hockey department. So we've talked about it, but now our focus is on this weekend, and probably if we win, it's going to make it easier to negotiate a good contract.
Bruce Richardson is my guest, BBC Radio Nottingham, and we're talking about, of course, the Nottingham Panthers. I'm going to ask you about how your wife's settling in. Bruce Richardson is my guest, and this is a sort of a curtain raiser to the playoffs against Coventry. Coventry, a well-known foe. We'll deal with them in a moment. How's Julie? It's Julie, isn't it, your wife?
That's correct, yeah.
How's she coping with all the changes, though? I mean, young lads and young children can cope with that sort of thing, but it's a bit harder for a woman, isn't it?
I don't see it. She's been tremendous. She's been, you know, they say great hockey players have great wife, and it is true. I was really fortunate to been married for 9 years this summer, and together for 15, and she's been following me and the support. And we have a pretty good, because we go back in the summer to Montreal, and she's a graphic designer, so she goes back home in the summer. So she goes to work, and I work during the hockey season. So we have a pretty good setup plan, and it's fun. She loves it. She's an easygoing person. She gets adjusted to every situation, and she makes friends here. You know, we have Dante, his wife, that's from Canada too. So we played together 10 years ago. They get along really well, and it's people that you're all going to keep in touch with. Ruben Nador's wife, and also Corey Nielsen, you know, and all the wives on the team, they get together, and I think the British player, their wife, they make the transition easier too, to bring them in that circle, and she's been tremendous. I will never say enough. And my wife, we always say, it doesn't matter where we are in the world, the most important thing is that we're together as a family, and that's the most important thing for me too. So
I'm so delighted. Well, I'm so delighted to hear you say that.
Yeah.
I'm also so delighted to hear the support's there. Because when a woman has to follow a man around his job, she can end up being very lonely. And obviously that's not the case.
No, with 2 kids, you never get lonely, I guess.
Yeah.
And especially with my second one, he's a pretty ball of energy, a little bit like me, people would say. But she's not the person to just sit at home and do nothing. You know, when the kids are in school, and even the 2, if he's at nursery, she'll go to the gym, and she'll get herself going, and that's fun. You know, she's here. We're in England. We go back home in the summer. It's fun to go back home, and she goes back to work, so she's in vacation for a little bit, but she has to take care of the kids, so you're never in vacation.
And as a graphic designer, I suppose actually she could work from home, couldn't she?
She could, but the company that she worked for back home,
what does she do then?
She works for a mailing company, and the company that she worked for, it's not big enough to have a server and be able to work, but they've been trying to work at it for the last couple of years, so hopefully one day it could come. It's fun.